Matt Meehan here for IrishBoxingCom. Glenn Byrne, it has been ages, Sean. Ages. Obviously, I've been heckling you on Instagram with story replies, but like that's probably about it. But how are you?
All good, Matt. How are you keeping?
Good man, good. Thanks so much for coming on. It's a sunny day where you are at the moment. And it's going to get even better for your next fight day.
100%. We're just over 3 weeks away now, so I can't wait.
Um, Obviously you've had kind of a few fall throughs and a bit of bad luck over the past few months, and you had a fight day and it fell through, and then another fight day and it kind of fell through. Did you do you feel that kind of finally this is the one now, we're locking it in and we're ready?
100%. Very, very unlucky year. February fell through, June fell through. I was injured for August. But I suppose these things are probably meant to happen. If them fights had happened or whatever, I may not be fighting in the three arena. So I'm very grateful. Everything, whatever's happened, is supposed to happen, and it's got me to where I am.
um in terms of obviously the opponent, it's a rematch, you against Charly Lopez. One that was hotly contested in the National Stadium on April 12th, and a great fight between both the lads. um why the rematch, and why now?
Um, as soon as the fight was over, I said to Jay, I want my next fight to be the rematch. I felt that I kind of let myself down on the night. Don't get me wrong, it was a really tough fight. Charlie was way more than expected. And I didn't perform to what I should have. A few factors let me down on the night, and it was something that I said straight after the fight. I said, "Get me the rematch because I know if I change a couple of things, I'll win the fight." And obviously, then when June came around, it was the Freeman fight, which never happened. But in my head, in my training, everything we've trained, even when I was training for Freeman, it was all for Charlie because the things I done in that fight were really poor. And I needed to improve on them. So it is, yeah. When September came around, obviously because I was supposed to fight James in June,
Yeah.
the fight was offered to James for September, and he turned it down. And then the only other person I wanted to fight was Charlie. I want to. I will beat Charlie now in September, and then that's that chapter closed and move on again. But it's one that I don't want sitting over me. I want to go out and prove that whatever happened in April, I let myself down, and September will be a completely different showing.
What do you feel that let you down? Obviously, you're saying that there's a few bits that you were disappointed in. But
Yeah.
like, what do you feel, Glenn, that personally and obviously honestly let you down?
Looking back on it now, there's a couple of factors. One of the main factors for me, well, I think anybody watching, was I sat in the ropes stupidly. He was obviously the aggressor in the fight, which won't happen this time. But I just sat in the ropes taking shots. Now I wasn't taking shots in the head or that. A lot of hit the arms, but from anybody sitting on the edge of the ring, it looked like he was doing the better work. When if you watch the fight back, the cleaner boxing came from myself. It was just he was probably busier, but he wasn't landing as much. So like 100% this time that won't be the case. I won't be sitting and taking shots unnecessarily. And then another big thing that stood out to me was my sparring preparation for the last fight wasn't good enough. I never sparred 8 rounds, and that was my first 8 rounder going in against someone who obviously is boxing. I think he's had 7 or 8 pro fights as a boxer, but he's had hundreds of kickboxing fights, which are all contested over long distances. So he would have been more experienced than that. And then as well, before the last fight, 3 weeks before the last fight, I was on a cruise. So there was a few things that in hindsight now looking back, I'm saying, oh, I should have done X, Y, and Z. But come here,
Yeah.
I didn't lose the fight. I drew the fight. And there are things I personally let myself down with. Whereas this time it's been completely different. And I feel like I've given 110%. The shape and condition I'm in now is probably better than what I was on fight night then, and I still have 3 weeks of sharpening up now. I'm heading over to Holland on Friday to go over and do a weekend of training with Pete Taylor. Look, I'm doing everything this camp to make sure that every opportunity and everything that's coming my way is been worked for.
I know you spent a good bit of time with your brother Jay. Have you and your brother sat down and watched the fight back? Have you analyzed it, even watching clips, or even obviously like a text message would be like, let's say Jay was texting you, just for example, I watched the fight back and could have done this. Obviously something along the lines of that.
Yeah, so we haven't watched the fight together, and we did say we're gonna watch it together before it. But I've watched it. I've watched it mountains of times myself, and he's watched it. And we both have said the same things. Like it's as I said a few minutes ago, it's obvious what let me down in the fight. And I believe that once I change a couple of things, it's gonna be a completely different showing, which I'm happy with. As I said, there's nothing I can do about now what happened in April. As I said, it's a blessing that I drew the fight.
Mm.
Like I'm not coming in here off a loss saying, "Oh well, if I had done this differently, I would have won." It was a draw. It is what it is. But we both know what's needed, and a credit to Jay. Everything he's done with me is working towards it. And then, as I said, like there was a couple of things that I felt that I needed to improve on, and he was like the best man to help you with that is
Mm.
Pete. So he organised for me to go away, and I think that's a sign of a really, really good coach that if he feels like there's something that he can't give me, he has no issues reaching out to someone. He's not arrogant. He's not like it's my way or the highway. He reaches out and gets help and advice from people, and it's only going to stand to me. So it's genuinely it's a credit to me to have him there helping me and supporting me.
Um, what did you feel in the minutes? Not well. Sorry, in the hours after the first fight. Obviously, when your head hit the pillow that night, or wherever you were, and you're just like, "Feck," like it was a loss. Like, what were you feeling? What was Glenn Byrne feeling?
I was extremely disappointed. Because obviously in there you don't know what's happening, but I felt in there when it came to the end, I thought I was getting the decision. So I felt really disappointed. And that was why I said straight away I want the rematch after.
Mm.
But then as I've watched it back, I realised that the draw was probably the right decision. I've watched it a couple of
Yeah.
times, said, oh jeez, maybe I could have nicked it. I feel like I done the better in this round. But when I look back, it was the right decision. So at the time I was really disappointed. But then as time went on, I just like I have to look back at it and say, in my sixth fight fighting for a Celtic title, which was never expected from when I first started, how much I've progressed since my debut in November. Like I'm not pro 2 years, and I feel like I've come on heaps and bounds. My sparring is like I'm sparring really high level people, and I'm doing really well. I'm not out of sort. I'm not out of place, and I feel like I'm actually way ahead of myself where we probably expected me to be. So yeah, no, I'm happy. As I said, I was very disappointed on the night, but come here, everything happens for a reason.
Mm. Like if you compare yourself from the pro fighter that started off in your pro debut to now, what can you see in terms of advantages, disadvantages, pros, cons? Yeah.
I feel every single camp I'm learning and every camp I'm getting better. Not just in the technical department, but I'm learning like the lifestyle, how to fuel the body, the training sessions, the intensity of what I'm doing. Like my first fight, if you watch it back, it was a great entertaining fight against Alan White, but it was really poor boxing shown. Whereas now I feel like I genuinely just feel like a completely different fighter. Like I look back, there's a video of me in September 2023. I had a white collar fight over in, not a white collar, sorry, a semi-pro fight over in England and London, and it's hilarious watching it. Like I genuinely couldn't box, and now I believe I'm really, really well. I'm
Mm.
a well skilled domestic fighter at the
Yeah.
moment, and I think I'll probably achieve more than that. Well, that's the aim. So yeah, I do feel like everything conditioning ability, everything I've done since my first fight, I'm just progressing every single camp. I don't
Mm.
think there's been a camp that I haven't learned from, which is good. Like I'm not stale or everything to me is learned, and I'm always willing to learn. So
Was there any contact between you and Team Byrne and Team Lopez after the fight? Obviously, like in the few days after, you'd be like, "Oh, like let's run this back." And I guess the negotiations started really early enough after, because obviously Charlie wanted it, and you wanted it, and obviously there has to be a negotiation to make a rematch if both lads want it, because obviously one boxer can't get in the ring and just box by himself, because that's utterly pointless on one part.
yeah.
That's just a boxer shot at boxing in front of a crowd. Like, no one's gonna watch that. But like in terms of serious now, it's obviously you have to have a negotiation to make a fight happen.
Yeah, 100%. So literally straight after the fight, I went back to the dressing room, was in the dressing room, and as I said, I was disappointed. I got ready and that, and when I walked outside, Charlie was there with I think it's Chano's his name, which is his manager or promoter or whatever he is. And I went over, I thanked Charlie for coming over and this and that. And I said straight away, I said, oh, I want the rematch. And they were up for it straight away. Obviously then that was April. So then when June came around, GBM rather a domestic kind of fight or two people who would sell tickets. So that's where the Freeman fight came about. So that was fine. And then when it came around to this one, when he declined it, it was for Lopez, but he kind of hardballed a little bit on the decision. They wouldn't give us a straightforward decision. He asked for stupid money straight off the bat, and he was told no. I don't know what they were playing at. And then when they kind of agreed a figure, he was then, oh well, we don't know. I think Charlie's injured and this and that. So they kind of went back and forth on it for a little while. I was still training in the background, still getting ready because I knew I was going to fight on this night. And then it came to an agreement. So yeah, come here. I can't see why he doesn't want to fight. It was a good, entertaining fight. He doesn't have much options in Spain. He said previously that he'd love to win the Celtic title because then it pushes him forward for a national title as well. Same obviously for us. So yeah, I'm just happy he's agreed to it. And I'm looking forward to, as I said, closing the chapter on it.
There's negotiation just to lead away from the Lopez fight for a sec. There was obviously negotiations and kind of talks and not agreements, but there was talks and negotiations to do that. Obviously, the James Freeman fight.
Yeah.
Obviously being a journalist, I want to get both sides of the plate. So just obviously, what do you know from it first off? And obviously the fight and yeah.
As far as I'm aware, he obviously agreed to Galway, which I was surprised with. Like this all came this it's just weird for me, or it's mad on my behalf because he's the one who called for the fight while I was just plodding along, minding my own business and learning. So then when I accepted it and we tried to make the fight a couple of times, it wouldn't happen. And then he finally agreed to it for Galway. So it was like happy days. And then obviously Galway fell through. And then I obviously got the slot on Mark Dunlop's show, but the fight wasn't to happen on Mark Dunlop's show. So then from that we said about fighting then in the Tree Arena on the card, and he came back with like he doesn't want to fight in Dublin. He wants a neutral ground or something. Now, don't ask me why. Like it was a man show. Yeah, Michael Conlon is gonna bring 90% of the crowd, I'm sure, from Belfast, or a big percentage of the crowd from Belfast. So, like, I don't understand where the whole wants a neutral venue. Like, I come here if he can offer me a fight in Belfast on a promotion up there, I'll jump at it. Like, it doesn't make a difference to me where it is or who's run the show. Like, I genuinely couldn't care less. But I think at this stage, it's something that we probably won't visit again because he's just wasted so much time.
Mm.
Um, like I feel I beat Charlie. Like being totally honest with you, his last fight he fought in Spain. Now, come here, fair play to him because he got out when he was supposed to be out that weekend of Galway show. But I think he scraped a win over there in Spain. Um, and then that's when it kind of went quiet. So maybe he's doing it on the basis of he was fucking useless and needs more time, which is fine. But I just feel like when I beat Charlie, I'm going to be the super welterweight champion, Celtic champion. I'm adamant that I'm going to be dropping down to welterweight. So I want to then progress on that. But if he's stalling and thing, I don't want to wait for him. Like he genuinely doesn't offer anything to me. He can't offer me. Like it's not like he's with a big promoter who's going to offer me a good slot in a show. He kind of needs Jay's pull to feature on a show. That's how we got on the Galway card. He would have been fighting in Three Arena. So like he doesn't offer anything to me. So I would imagine, and I think Jay is on the same basis, that it probably won't happen now because he's just wasted stupid time.
Um, A lot to unpack there. Like you said, obviously that you wanted to move down to welterweight. Hopefully,
Yeah.
hopefully enough. Obviously, you've and congrats as well for obviously over the past 2 years and losing the weight, and getting down each division. That's a massive achievement within itself, Glenn. So again, congratulations. But what do you see at welterweight?
Um, I just feel like I feel I'd be better. Like kind of when I weighed in April, I weighed in at 69 kilos on the button, and I didn't train the day before. I didn't do a water cut or anything. So, like, if I had trained and done a water cut, I would have lost the extra 2.3 kilos. I would have hit the welterweight.
Yeah,
And I feel that I'd be stronger at that way. I just think that like if it was a case that I was gonna be weak at it, I wouldn't do it. But I just feel like that it would benefit me sharper. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. So the idea would be that I beat Charlie and then I can drop down to welterweight and contest them for the Celtic title at welterweight and try and just keep continuing. But at the moment, it's only September 5th in my mind, Matt.
yeah.
Mm.
There's, I guess, there's a bundle of opportunities kind of once you really kind of get past the domestic scene. There's obviously the European scene that kind of opens up a lot of doors, from different bits and different things that you'd probably like to do. But and again, I guess your focus is September 5th, and then it's going back to Jay and Butch and everyone else at Team Byrne and just sit down and have a chat and see what's next.
Yeah, that's obviously in the bigger picture. But as I said, I genuinely just have September 5th tunnel vision. Nothing else can happen
Mm.
unless I win on September 5th. So that's my thing. I have to win at all costs, and I'm going to win at all costs. So I'm putting in every bit of work that I can. I'm not cutting any corners. I'm doing literally everything I can to make sure that September 5th goes my way. So I'm not thinking about anything after September 5th.
Do you feel that you can stop Charlie Lopez?
No, I'm not. I'm not putting any of that into my mind. A good bit of my camp before the April fight, people were saying it to me. I feel like a lot of people underestimated Charlie. I kind of did myself. But a lot of people probably seen it as an easy route to a Celtic title.
Yeah.
Which I think on the night it was complete opposite, and anybody who watched the fight would have seen that. But a lot of people were in my ear before that fight saying, "Oh, you'll stop him, you'll do this," and it messed with me head. So now I'm made sure that I'm 100% ready for 8 solid rounds. And I'm gonna outbox him, and I'll just be victorious regardless of what way it comes.
Glenn, really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on.
No worries, man. Thanks very much for your time, mate.